A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining our Homeopathy 24/7 podcast. We are going to be speaking to an array of international guests who will share their knowledge and experiences of homeopathy with you. We will discuss all types of subjects such as remedies, symptoms, and stories of health. No matter where you are with your homeopathic journey, we aim to inspire you on your quest to natural health and living. The podcast is brought to you by Greensmith, the founder of Homeopathy 24/7, which is a global platform connecting you with a homeopath wherever you are in the world, 24 hours a day. So let's get started with today's chat. Please welcome Mary Greensmith.
Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm so pleased to be able to welcome Paola Brown. Welcome. It's lovely to see you.
Hey, Mary, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm really excited to be here.
Now, tell me a little bit about the Americans for Homeopathy Choice action, because you are so busy in the US putting
Yes.
people together and telling people about homeopathy. What is it
Yeah.
that you do?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm going to have actually a call to action by the end of this show that anyone around the world can help with. So, but essentially, we are in a tight spot in the United States. The Food and Drug Administration has completely changed their policy around how they approach homeopathic medicines. This policy is very prejudicial, and it is squashing our access to homeopathic medicines. We're really in a catch-22 because in some ways, our efforts, we're going forward with our efforts, and we're going about it as cautiously as possible, but nothing is without risk. But if we do nothing, we know where we are headed because we've already lost access to a lot of homeopathic medicines. In the United States, a little different than in the UK. We have a lot of OTC, over-the-counter medicines. So we used to have eye drops. We have, little tablets for cold, calm, and, different things that are sold over the counter. And FDA has essentially we've lost completely overnight all eye drops and another category of homeopathic medicines, but that was used primarily by physicians. But essentially, the concern that I have is the mechanism in which they used to remove, for example, eye drops is the same mechanism that they can use to essentially remove all homeopathic medicines. There's no limitations. And that's where we're so concerned. And so we've decided at Americans for Homeopathy Choice Action to do something about it. We've been working on it for 7 years. And it is quite precarious, quite concerning.
It's such a big subject, isn't it? And obviously, since we've had homeopathy 24/7 and we're helping people all over the US as well as other parts of the world, it's always been brilliant for us to realize that actually you do have homeopathy in the shops, because that's something that doesn't happen here in the UK very much. And you have it on Amazon, which also doesn't happen in the UK. So for us, this is huge, because everybody we speak to, we're saying, go to Sprouts, go to your whole foods store, go to your shop, pick up this, and we're good to go. So this is really, really important for us and
It
our
is.
listeners.
And actually, the FDA stance is having a chilling effect beyond just what FDA is doing. So you just mentioned Whole Foods. Actually, Whole Foods doesn't really sell very many homeopathic products anymore. They used to sell a lot of those single remedies. You can get it at Sprouts still. Natural Grocers is a big supporter of homeopathy. But what's happening is because of the FDA's position, and their position is that they're all unapproved new drugs and therefore illegally marketed, which they never had they never stated that position before. They never communicated that ever. And the communication of that message is causing retailers to say, oh, well, maybe I don't want to sell, as much of this, or I want to scale back. And so it's having a chilling effect on the market, on investment, and all those things. And that affects homeopathy too. So it's really a systemic issue beyond just the actual actions FDA takes.
And I know that you are really, really proactive in talking to Congress and talking to people around the whole of the United States. Tell me,
Yes.
tell me what it is. What are you going to say? How does it work?
Essentially, well, our goal is legislation. That's what we're working on, and we are very, very close to that project. But when we meet with Congress, when we have conversations with them, we actually don't focus so much on the science. When we bring homeopaths onto our team, we have to kind of untrain them a little bit
Yeah.
because they want to talk about, the nanoparticles or the resonance or the law of similars and the provings and the history. And they're so passionate about that. And I actually am very passionate about that too. I think it's fascinating and very empowering. The history of homeopathy is amazing in the United States and around the world. But we have found that congressional offices are not very interested in that. And what they are interested in is our perspective, which is freedom of choice. I don't care what you want to do, as long as it's safe. If you want to beat yourself with the bush, that's fine, as long as it's not harming people and you're not deceiving people. But essentially, homeopathy is quite safe. And we should have the freedom to try. We should have the freedom to try things that even if your general practitioner thinks you shouldn't try it or the FDA thinks you shouldn't try it, it's safe. It has a very sustained track record of safety over 200 years. And when manufactured properly, of course, but that goes for anything. Everything has to be manufactured properly. And it's very safe, and we should have the freedom to choose and access that. And that has really resonated with members of Congress. Rarely do they ask me, well, they do want to know what it is. So they want to know, why is it so safe? We talk about we just keep it very general. We don't even explain the steps, but we just say it's highly diluted and non-toxic,
Okay.
which is true.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we say, and then it has an impeccable track record. In 200 years, there's been no evidence of harm or death, like in the sense of toxicity, So when they hear that, they're like, okay, cool. So it's safe. It has a safety record. We support proper manufacturing. Who doesn't? And essentially, we think we should have access. So that's really the conversation we're having. Every once in a while, they do want to know, well, how does it work? Because typically, when I get asked that question, how does it work? It's the staffer, the congressional office's staff. The person I'm talking to is kind of piqued. Their interest is piqued, and now they're curious. Will it help with my allergies or
Yes.
my daughter's croup or whatever? And so
Mhm.
then it's usually they'll start asking a few more questions, and then I have a really great discussion about that. But again, in terms that I think are appropriate for that setting.
It's really, really interesting just hearing you say this because for me, that having the homeopathic choice is what we are about, what we as homeopaths should be sharing, because I can't imagine a life without homeopathy personally for
I can't
myself, my
either.
family. And so people not knowing there's a choice, it to me is so sad. And just to have, so I really resonate also with this whole idea of freedom of choice. And of course, for me, homeopathy is all about taking back responsibility of your health, and it allows, as far as I'm concerned, homeopathy allows you to learn more about the symptoms that you have and what they actually mean. So it's got to be good for you, hasn't it? It's got to be good for people just to know, and once they're aware of what's happening, then can they then decide how it's going to fit into their lives. So tell me,
Exactly right.
how do you talk to people? How do you bring people together? Because I know that you're building such a great community.
Well, I think the first thing you do is you employ the skills as homeopaths that you should know, and that is you have to listen carefully and consider your audience, and then respond to what they're actually asking, not to what you would like them to be asking you. Although that is a trick sometimes that you might have to employ, but from a public relations perspective. But generally speaking, you have to listen very carefully and see what they're asking. And one of the most powerful ways that we get to the bottom line is we train our advocates to share their story. Share your journey. Why did you turn to homeopathy? How did you find it? Why is it so important for you that our volunteers are showing up, spending, their training program takes a bit of time. And then when they're done with that, the amount of commitment, the monthly commitment drops significantly. But that story is so important, and it needs to be relatable, and it needs to be honest and a little vulnerable. And so we teach them, to share their story. So my story is I was a young mom. I was very, very sick with multiple autoimmune disease. I actually had robust health until my early 20s when I was prescribed many rounds of antibiotics for UTIs. And then I developed a horrible bladder disease called interstitial cystitis. And I tell people, so think of your bladder, light it on fire, turn it inside out, and put it out with a track shoe. That's what it felt like, the spiky track shoes. And so it was really miserable. Just walking across the room was quite painful because of the thumping that my body would, cause that. And my doctor said, when they looked at my bladder, inside my bladder with a camera, he said it looked like ground beef. Like it was just so painful, so painful. And so I spent, $30,000 of savings, $30,000 of credit card debt trying to cure this. I started with conventional medicine. I like to point out that I went to the Mayo Clinic. The Mayo Clinic is a very well-known clinic here in the US, and they said to me, "You're doing better managing this illness on your own than any medication we'd want to give you." And that was really discouraging because I thought they were like, the white knight, in the castle that was going to help me. So then I tried a lot of natural alternatives and acupuncture and just herbal things and treatments. And then I like to say there's this acronym people like to say, teeth, tried everything else, then homeopathy. And that was absolutely my journey. I found homeopathy, and I actually grew up with it, but it kind of fell out of its place once my father graduated from university, got a job, got health insurance. So my mom kind of thought, well, we don't need this anymore, So it fell out of the way, but I took it, and within a month there was significant improvement. And I've tried different kinds of homeopathy. Today I'll tell your listeners this. I don't say this to Congress, but I use classical homeopathy as my primary form, but I am all about choice. I think people should have the freedom to choose the medicine that works for them and the style of homeopathy that works for them. But as long as, it's safe, of course. But, I am fully healed today. I don't have perfect health. Who does? But I live a robust life. I live on 19 acres and have a milk cow and chickens and ducks and a greenhouse and all kinds of things. And so very thankful for homeopathy. So that was a slightly longer version of what I tell. I've even condensed that even shorter, but that really gets them to connect. So, and that's an important part.
Isn't it? Because what we're talking about really is having the opportunity to heal when there isn't something else out there. And people think, well, there must be, give me some medicine and it'll go.
Well, and I even tell them this is the freedom to choose when there isn't something else.
Yeah.
And even if there is something else, I want to be able to try this first because this is no side effects. This is so safe. And that's upsetting to me too. It's like, why should I be forced to take these antibiotics because this is what you think, when I've seen many times with my own family and myself, I don't have to take antibiotics unless it's a life-saving heroic circumstance,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you're absolutely right, because there's a lot of talk as well about overuse of antibiotics and therefore them becoming, more resilient and not working as well. And if we carry on in this way, they won't actually be any good at all in 10, 15 years time.
Or next year or something. It's already happening. And I have to say too, because of the nature of our discussions, we're talking about FDA. FDA only regulates the medicines themselves. Mm-hmm. So they don't regulate the practice of homeopathy. In the United States, the practice of homeopathy is regulated by each individual state or the practice of medicine. And so we don't really get into the weeds about treatment and those things. We really focus on the medicines and that they're safe and that we should have access to them. So that's also an important, distinction.
Okay, that's really interesting. So tell me, what is the next stage for you going forward today?
Yeah, so like I said, we're working on legislation. We've made some excellent progress. There's always, three. We're kind of at the point where we're 3 steps forward, 1 step back. So it's not 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We're 3 steps forward and 1 step back. So it's taking a bit longer than we anticipated. But even then, we're killing it. We're doing very, very well on that goal. And right now, we're recruiting for something called the Rapid Response Team. And I would love, to share about that, but essentially, well, we have a few different ways people can help. They can always donate to us, which obviously that helps. They can also join our homeopathy action team when we open enrollment for that. Enrollment right now is closed. And donations can be from anywhere around the world. The homeopathy action team, it helps if you reside in the US. You don't have to be a citizen or a green card holder, just as long as you reside in the US. You could be on a visa or whatever. And then that last way, which is really an exciting way, it's probably the quickest way you can volunteer for us. It's called the Rapid Response Team. So I think you guys know about this, but whenever members of the government support homeopathy, I'm sure in the UK, they do get attacked. They might get attacked on social media. They might get attacked somewhere online. And so eventually, when we introduce this bill, people will know who exactly is supporting homeopathy. And so the rapid response team is really a protection for them. And so we're in 1.5 hours, we train you, and it might even be quicker if you're a fast reader, but we train you on an appropriate way to respond to attacks to specific members of our government who are supporting homeopathy. And so that's our goal is to get people to step up. So the goal is not to argue with the skeptics, although it might seem like that. But one time years ago, we had a member of Congress, support us, and he was attacked mercilessly by like many, many skeptics, hundreds upon hundreds of skeptics. And we didn't have a rapid response team in place to create balance, to create comments that balance those negative comments. And so our rapid response team, we essentially train you to respond to skeptics, not to respond to the skeptics, but to show the member of Congress if they scroll through the comments, they're getting support, and to create original supportive comments. To do that, we've created a rapid response team chatbot. It's an AI chatbot that has been trained to provide very calm, respectful responses that are fully accurate. And it makes it so much easier for our rapid response team to respond, because some of the comments are they're very jarring. They'll use profanity, they'll lie, they'll make kind of clever arguments that you're like, wait a second, what do I say to that? It's wrong, but you don't know what to say. And so we've actually put it through an extensive training. And so that's something. Now you do get to decide. I mean, I'm not a big fan of AI myself, but it'll give you suggested responses, and you have final say on how you want to edit that or use it or not use it. And so it's just a tool, a drafting tool, essentially. But we train you how to do that in 1.5 hours. And if you go to homeopathychoice.org/RR, rapid response. You can't find it from the homepage. We're kind of keeping this a little bit under the table.
Yeah.
But
Okay, that's interesting. We'll put the link below for our people that are interested. We'll get them to contact you for it. But that's really interesting, because what you're saying is that when to get the support of Congress, the people who are listened to, and then help them understand that actually when they do get the negative feedback from people around the states, they are balanced with people who do use it and do want to do it.
Yeah, I find that the skeptics of homeopathy are very aggressive. They tend to be very aggressive, and they're very passionate about their viewpoints, which that's fine. You can have your viewpoints. I respect that. And homeopathy people tend to be really happy and gentle and positive. And so we don't like to show up and, in an argument, but it is needed. It is very much needed. And so we train you on the rapid response team how to do that. And it's an excellent training. We have a public relations person that helped us develop it. I was key in developing it with a team of people. And it's an excellent training. And I think it'll be very useful.
That is really, really interesting. So we can certainly get more people involved with actually sticking up for homeopathy in a way. And you're absolutely right to say, actually, as a people, I think we tend to back off when
Yeah.
they're, because we don't want to get into that argument. Thank you very much.
No. I was talking to a friend of mine and they were asking, well, did you argue with so and so? This is a family thing. And I said to them, I don't argue. I just disappear. I'm
Yes.
not an arguer. I'm just like, sayonara, I'm out.
Yeah.
Goodbye. But this is one of those moments where we need to lean in and say, no, you're not going to push this member of Congress around and discourage them from supporting something that there's actually a lot of people wanting them to support.
Absolutely. And of course, in this day and age when we're doing a lot more on social medias, we're doing a lot more, we've got access to a lot more people, which means that a lot more people are able to find homeopathy and find out, those choices. So it's giving us the ability really to form communities, like-minded people. And so it's really interesting to think that, for us, we find that a lot more people are becoming involved with homeopathy. And so it's just understanding how they can help homeopathy as a whole. And you are the leader, really. You are the person leading the way for us. So we are so grateful for you to come in today. Thank you so much. And just talk a little bit about what we can do from home, from wherever we are, our little bit to help.
And the reality is that what's happening in the US, for better or worse, is going to affect homeopathy globally.
Exactly.
And I know a lot of people, the psyche of homeopathy is homeopaths and homeopathy users have been beat up from day one since Hahnemann's day. It's part of kind of the psychological psyche I've noticed of homeopathy. And we really considered just let's lay low and not do anything. But the situation in America and the United States is so precarious that we would not survive. Homeopathy would not do well. So, for those of you who have been watching from a distance saying, I really wish they wouldn't do anything, I hope we were left with no other choice. We have to do something. And I believe it's going to take a miracle for us to be successful. But Mary, one day I'm going to write a book, and we have already experienced miracle after miracle after miracle. And I keep telling our team, I'm not going to force things. I don't believe in forcing or, making things happen, pushing a boulder up a mountain. I won't be able to do it. It'll just harm my health and harm the terrain. So we've really thought about it long and hard, and we feel we've been left with no other choice. So I do ask that you guys step up and help and have a little courage and a little hope, a little positivity. I like to tell people, put a circle of light around you to protect you, and just envision that. And we will be successful. I really feel that.
Yeah. Yes, I think so too. I think from everything that's happening just now with the changes that are happening and just this ability because of people like yourself actually taking the bull by the horns and saying, okay, now is the time.
It's a stressful journey, but I feel so much peace and gratitude. And I'm just like, I'm not in charge. You know what? The universe wants homeopathy. I'm a person of faith. I believe in God. I think God wants homeopathy. He gives us strength and he shows us the way. And so we're just going to keep going. But, don't take it lightly when I say we need help. I
Yeah.
don't do it. I don't say that unless we actually need it. So please do consider going to homeopathychoice.org/RR, do the training and get ready to help.
Fantastic. We will. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was a very special episode we had with Paola Brown, and I would like to thank Paola so much for coming on and talking with us about all of the good work that she is doing. Please check on the links and see how you can help today. Look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. I do hope you've enjoyed these episodes, and I do hope you can subscribe to our channels. Now, there are various ways for you to listen to our podcast or watch it on video on YouTube. So whether it's iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, please do subscribe and please do leave us a review. If you leave us a review on these platforms, then more people will see our podcast. We just want more people to share the joy of homeopathy. It's a choice that everybody should know about. Please do everything you can to help us help more people.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to listening to our next one. Please don't forget to follow our podcast on your chosen channel, and please do leave us a review so we can continue to share homeopathy with as many people as possible. If you do have any questions, please do reach out to us on any of our social platforms mentioned in the show notes. We at Homeopathy 24/7 hope to empower you on your natural health journey.